Alrighty, what's up, my guys? What's up, my G's? Welcome back to the Super Bowl Packers. This is the coldest podcast for diehard Packers fans. I'm your host, Tha Gawd, here to bring you all the action, drama, and insight straight from the frozen tundra.
And I'm your boy AG, ready to break down all the X's and O's, the highlights, the hot takes for our beloved Packers. This is where Cheesehead Nation doesn't bleed red. We bleed the green and gold, baby.
All right, and every week we're going to be diving into Packers news, game analysis during the season, of course, and everything you need to know about our Super Bowl journey because, we are Super Bowl bound. And, we're just not here just to talk, but we want you guys to join in on the conversation. Anything that you say that you feel like we're off the wall, anything that you got something else to share about, please drop it in the comment, and we may even, pick your stuff and highlight it on the next episode when we start getting to some fan feedback. So make sure you tap in.
Tap in. You got to hit that like, subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe here on YouTube to Tha Gawd. That's GAWD. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Super Bowl Packers. Also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Pack Super Bowls. So, never miss an episode. Tap in with some live news. We'll make sure to keep you in the know on a different side of the Packers, So make sure you tap in.
Hell yeah. And don't forget to drop your thoughts, like I said in the comment. Let us know what your guys' off-season moves you think the Packers are going to make. Right now we're talking about edge rushers, but say if you got any other thoughts or anything else that you think, anybody that we may have missed on these lists that you want to mention, go ahead and throw that in the mix. Let us know, and like I said, we might feature your take in our next episode.
So Packers Nation, let's keep this thing rolling. It's time for that Lombardi Trophy to head back up to the frozen tundra where it belongs. That's Titletown, baby.
Titletown, hey. So let's go, Packers fans. Buckle up, enjoy the ride, and this is Super Bowl Packers. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, my guys, this is a sore point that we've had this whole entire season was our edge rush. And I'm not pointing the finger at Rashawn Gary, I want to be that clear. But our edge rush was obviously lacking. And I thought that we had a pretty good edge rush, last season. I didn't feel like we had fallen that far off a cliff. But we made some moves. We got rid of Preston Smith, who was not feeling Jeff Haft's defensive coordination, his alignments, and his scheme.
Right.
And, I don't know. We weren't doing well before we released him, and we didn't do any better after we released him. So it was a lateral movement, but right. let me know where you're at. What you thinking about?
So with us letting go of Preston Smith, it was one of those things where the veteran leadership is something that seemed to be missed, but obviously he wasn't producing in that system and that scheme. And so I praise what Hafley had did and let Preston sprout his wings. He went to the Steelers. They didn't go nowhere the same way as we didn't go nowhere this season. But I think that it didn't seem like we had fallen off that much. We had 45 sacks on the season, but I read a stat somewhere that said between the Lions games, the two that we played, and the two against the Vikings, we only had 5 sacks total in that game. Now, that's going to be a combination of the defensive tackles, the edge rushers, the linebackers, right, as a scheme overall. But it felt like Sam Darnold and Jared Goff just had all day to throw. And when we're dealing with those names, you know what I mean? I don't want to get cooked up by fucking Jared Goff and Sam Darnold, but they was carving us apart. And it seemed like, the pass rush wasn't getting there. And Rashawn Gary, for as much as, as much flack as he had gotten, this man made his first Pro Bowl team. He was graded one of the best run stop defenders, as far as the edge position, according to ESPN, if not the top edge run stop winner. And this man, according to PFF, was the 11th graded pass rusher. So really, the numbers aside, all I'm saying is that Rashawn Gary had a good year overall. It's everything around him. I'm not, right. Again, there's certain sides around it. I'm not worried about Rashawn. I'm worried about everything else, that's going to be around this man.
Yep. Yeah, he had a great season. I mean, he had 7.5 sacks, which is a little bit lower than I think he's used to averaging. He had 9 tackles for a loss. So that's usually what I'm looking for in my edge rusher. Are you causing havoc in the backfield? And again, he did get off to a slow start this year, but he was graded, like you said, the top edge runner and win rate with a 37% win rate. And I mean, you can't be mad at that. And that was 11th that you were looking at that he was ranked. So like I said, he's doing his job. Preston was a long-time Packer. Well, I'm sad to see him go, but I'm glad it wasn't we didn't make the split like we did with Campbell, and it was like some like weird shit. But that was that nigga Campbell's fault. That nigga, like, he been crashing out everywhere along the league, so I can't even give his shit no validation. But
that nigga pulled in Antonio Brown without pulling off his jersey and shit. You know what I mean? He was just like, nah. You know what I mean? It was like, fuck you, coach. I'm not going in. You know what I mean?
And like, bro, you're not good enough for that to be entertaining.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you have the clout to, you know what I mean, off of that one, you know what I mean, off of that one season where you were all pro. Outside of that, like, hey, dog, you haven't had consistency. So, you know what I mean? There are plenty of players who can get to the peak, and there's no shade to you on that end of hitting that peak. But to think that you are owed something, especially with the defense that the San Francisco 49ers field, to think that you was going to play over people that were coming back, nigga, who are you?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, just the fuck are we talking about? You know what I mean? But like the defensive production, you know what I mean? Like, we're sticking here on edge rusher, you know, like I said, I don't have problems with Rashawn, and, you know, just kind of looking at just like overview of stats, not really diving too deep. You know what I mean? The main stats that we look at are really going to be like the sacks, you know what I mean? The pressures, things like that. And the man has 7.5 sacks, which is the same as Max Crosby, which is who we're fawning over, right? We'll get to him, I'm sure, later. We're kind of fawning over the idea of kind of pairing him with someone who's in their prime and still an elite pass rusher, but he had the same amount of production, you know what I mean, from that standpoint, as far as like sack-wise. Right. So it's really where it comes down to is like the LVNs of the world, the Enigbares, you know, we're relying on, you know, like we were talking about it off airs, we're relying on a nigga named Brenton. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know too many Brentons, let alone any niggas named Brenton. You know what I mean? Like, so right. Like Brenton Cox Jr., you know what I mean? You pull that name out of a hat, what ethnicity you choosing? You know what I mean? Like,
right, definitely, right, definitely not. But okay, right, yeah, so that brings us to the Robin, to our Batman, because like I said, Rashawn Gary's a dog. That nigga's certified. He's been tearing up the league the last couple seasons. I don't think he gets the the due praise for his edge rushing prowess, but that'll all come when we get this title. But what about his Robin, which Luke Van Ness got elevated after Pressey left? How do you feel about Luke Van Ness? Do you feel like he's going to get bumped down? Do you think we're going to roll with him as our number 2? I mean, obviously not if we can pick up a Max Crosby or, let's say a Myles Garrett or somebody like that. But where do you feel his place in this franchise is going to be moving forward? Is he on the trade block? What do you think?
Nah, definitely not on the trade block. You know what I mean? We're going to keep that nigga because, number one, he's 23 years old, which means this man is still under his rookie contract. We have him for damn near 2 seasons, right? You know what I mean? Like, guaranteed we might pick up the 5th year, right, in that last season. But he's going to be here, right? You know what I mean? So, like, I also don't think that with the level of production he's shown, you're going to get anything more than, like, compensatory or, like, 7th-round picks, you know what I mean, or shit like that. And what's the point of that, right? Might as well keep the nigga that we're trying to actually draft and develop. Right. You know what I mean? Like, so I would say that he may not be the Robin to the Batman, you know, but I think that he is still a developing piece. Now, we had talked about it last week that we're kind of on this trajectory, like we don't want to really do this whole draft and develop scheme where I want a developmental prospect, you know, like people need to start making these jumps. Right. And so he just needs to start showing this level of production going forward. But I also think the absence of maybe like a veteran presence, because Rashawn Gary's only 27 himself. He's like a veteran by contract standards or like by average years played or whatever, but he's not a veteran. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to be able to teach the game in the same way somebody who's been in the league 9, 10, 11 seasons, you know, or even the coaches may. So like we still, again, we do the youngest team in the league thing. I still think that Lucas can be a viable rotational edge piece, spell other people, but I don't think he can be Robin just yet, or has proven that he can be that.
I feel that. I definitely agree. I don't think he had a bad season after Pressey left, but it just exposes youth. It exposed his greenness, for lack of a better term. But he made some good plays. He was out there hustling. He was out there getting some coverage sacks. You know what I'm saying? Making it happen. So he didn't leave the board, he didn't leave the board empty. So I could fuck with that, you know what I'm saying? He ended up with 33 tackles, 3 sacks, and 6 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. So,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? I can't even be mad at that production. So that's a good piece to have rotational, especially if we have a vet rotating with the two of them. And I guess that leaves us with the 3 side pieces, which is Kingsley Enigbari, who I like a lot. He seems to flash a lot when he gets on the field. We got Britton Cox Jr. and then Aaron Mosby. Both of those two kind of got elevated, I believe, this season. And so this is their first season that they even like kind of played. Are they rookies? I don't think they're rookies, but this was definitely their first like season as rotational pieces and people like playing a chunks. But you think we're keeping all of them? Or are we gonna move on from them? You think we're putting somebody back in the practice squad? I mean,
if anybody's going to be put to the practice squad, it's going to be Mosby, right? If the Packers make a move, and again, we'll get to this kind of thing, kind of foreshadowing on that, but I feel that these players have a certain level of production as far as if they can be slotted correctly, right? Like I feel that Rashawn can be the number 1, Lucas can be the number 3, which pushes everybody back down one slot. Mm-hmm. And then it slots them accordingly to what they're going to be asked to do, how much they're actually going to play, their snap rotation, how much energy they're going to have, what have you, right? Because just kind of looking at Cox and looking at Enigbari, they had more sacks than LVN as far as just like a sacks goes. Enigbari had more tackles than Van Ness, right? So he also played more snaps than LVN. So he's doing something right to actually get on the field, right, from a percentage standpoint. Cox is the one, that's going to be slotted back down a little bit further, and then Mosby is the least one. So Mosby he's on an exclusive rights tag, so like we have an option to keep him or not. If we can find somebody, I don't think we're gonna keep him, right? But we might like let him go, bring in the practice squad kind of thing, to save that money.
Right.
I honestly think though that Enigbari has shown enough flashes and they've called his name enough, just broadcast wise, like we know him, but you've heard his name from the broadcasters, and that's Enigbari in the backfield, right? He had 5 tackles for loss, LVN had 6, so like he's there. He's a playmaker from how much production he's going to give. And again, he's not the star, but I still think it's the same thing we were talking about with DB, is that when people are slotted accordingly, it can be dangerous. But when someone goes down and you got to like move up one level, that's where it's going to be like, can you really hold your own?
Right. Can you make that jump, or are you just going to be outmatched everywhere you get to? And my thing with Rashawn Gary, because all of our pieces get a lot of more rotation. Rashawn Gary, there was a lot of instances where he was not in on third down situations, or he wasn't getting that snap. And I'm like, yo, if he's going to sit a snap, sit this nigga down on first down. Like, what are we? He's eating 2 blocks here and there for first and second down, and you're winded by the third. So I understand we got to have those rotational pieces, but I think the employment of, or not the employment, but the deployment of Rashawn Gary could be a little bit more tactful as far as getting them out there where it's really going to matter, and that'll, again, help the slotting for everybody else. And especially if we can pick up somebody huge, to bolster that. I don't, like you said, I'm not going to get up here lying about my prowess in the college draft, so I don't know who to expect and what kind of draft is this, the edge rusher happy draft. But if we could get somebody in free agency, I think that'll behoove us, and that'll help the snap percentage, and like you said, get everybody's slots in alignment. So we can go ahead and move into that to talk about it a little bit more here.
So to piggyback off of that, I'm gonna pull this up because, like you said, I'm not gonna pretend to understand like my own draft knowledge there, but obviously you have the pundits that are well versed in that, and we have our own kind of Packers pundits and things. So according to Peter Bukowski, it says that there are 15 edge rushers ranked in the top 50 by either PFF, ESPN, or The Athletic. There are only 8 cornerbacks. Right. And so those are 2 positions of need that we have, but it's one of those things. What are we going to prioritize? So it seems to be very edge heavy as far as, 15 out of 50, you know what I mean? Like, so that's 30%. that we're looking at, are edge rushers. So it seems like you can get a prospect there, but I still wouldn't be opposed to bringing someone in.
Yeah, of course, of course. So that leads us to our next category, which is our free agent class, which this is a pretty lucrative free agent class. I'm actually pretty excited. And again, as I talked about in the last episode, Goody been out here making moves. He's out here trying to make test moves. He's trying to build a fucking team. So
trying to get off that Ted Thompson shit, you know what I mean? Sit around and wait for old age type shit. Like,
right, for real. So I'll go down the list here of the free agent class, and instead of going over them one by one, you could just tell me which one you think makes the most sense for cap purposes, for scheme purposes, or whatever the case may be. We got Khalil Mack, we got Hassan Reddick, we got DeMarcus Lawrence, Matthew Judon, and Chase Young. So that's the class that's going to be free agents coming up. Like I said, pretty lucrative class. Any of those guys I'd be, pretty happy to take. But I have my the apples of my eyes from this group. So go ahead and lay it on us. Where you at?
Is Big Mac Daddy? You know what I mean? It's Khalil Mack. He's the white whale that Goody missed out on. Like we tried to get him before he went to Chicago, for that contract. He just got outbid. He went for the bag, thought he could do something, like most people who think they can do something in Chicago, but they don't end up doing shit. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things. You know what I mean? Like, so Khalil Mack is still a highly, highly productive player. This man was the 7th graded edge rusher, still made the Pro Bowl, still has 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 9 pass breakups from the edge position. You know what I mean? I know you can filter at outside linebacker and whatnot, but what I'm looking at with Mac is not only the production side of it and someone who can still push that pocket and just maul you in your face, but he's someone that can actually tutor, right? He's someone who can actually be like, hey man, I've been in this a decade, right? You know what I mean? Like I have the production and the proven track record to show that I can do this. Right. And I feel that he can be Goody's Julius Peppers.
Yes.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like this can be, dog, you can get it sounds like, he's 33 years old, but I still think Khalil Mack got 2-3 years in the right situation. He just tired of losing, tired of being with losers. You know what I mean? And the Packers are perpetual playoff contenders, right? You know what I mean? We may not always be Super Bowl contenders. We're going to get you to the dance. Right. Like that's the thing. We're going to get you in the door. What you going to do when you get there?
Right. You going to put some holes when you get there? You going to put some holes when you get there? You go home by yourself?
Your shit against the wall, you back against the wall type nigga, hands in your pockets, you know what I mean? Or you trying to filter your way through a dance circle? You know what I mean? Like, are you afraid of rejection, my boy? Like, sure, you know what I mean? You could try to build the prospects of it, you know what I mean? In LA, you've been in LA for a few years already. Right. You've been down there with Bosa and trying to do it, and you guys have just kind of been middling, right. And
you've been with a bum-ass organization, we ain't gonna talk about, but you've been with those bums.
You done already played in the NSC North. You already on the cold. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing worse than playing the Soldier Field. Not because it's cold in the lake, my nigga, because that field is trash. That is a garbage ass field. Everybody complains about that weak ass field. You know what I mean? Like, come to niggas who actually care about the field because that's the only thing we got up there.
Right.
My dude. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that shit is well kept because the neighbors are out there doing that shit.
Right. Like the city out there providing.
The city out there, you know what I mean? You can come out here and ride your bikes, you know what I mean, on the practices with the kids, come out here to Lambeau. My white whale, you're not even white whale because that's the one you missed out on. But again, we've talked about like Packers fandom and the Ted Thompson kind of handcuff and we don't do shit. You know what I mean? Goody is now proven that he's willing to, you know what I mean, fire some of them bullets. And I think that Khalil Mack is going to be that dude. Hassan Reddick, like just kind of go through him real quickly. Hassan Reddick held out, you know what I mean? Because he's hoping for a contract. He's looking for the bag, you know what I mean? And like, I get it, but I just don't feel that, we're going to pay him that bag. DeMarcus Lawrence
we're not those guys.
Yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence, I feel like the Cowboys are just going to pay him and just try to make him a legacy dude. You know what I mean? Matthew Judon, he might end up with Mike Vrabel back in New England, right? So I feel like Judon will be like, you know what? I'm going to head back. And then Chase Young, he's kind of been middle. Like, he's so young, but because of some injuries and because of some lack of production, you know what I mean? It's just up in the air. Khalil Mack's my guy. Hands up, make it happen.
I dig it. And like you said, he's 33, but he was still ranked seventh out of all edges, and he's still a dog. He's a fucking lion. Yeah, I guess the only other person that I would even kind of be intrigued about is Matthew Judon on that list, but I feel like I don't remember hearing his name a lot this last season. He was at Atlanta this last year. I don't remember hearing his. I didn't even know he was with Atlanta until I went to his graphic and this image that I'm looking at here, and then I was like, oh damn.
That's because the narrative with Atlanta was Kirk Cousins, right? You know what I mean? Like Kirk had that like 500-yard game this year. You know what I mean? Like where he balled the fuck out. You know, it was like, who the fuck is Kirk Cousins off the Achilles? And then that man couldn't score more than like 15 points. You know, like
we were
so
like,
it was
oh,
like
Kirk Cousins.
it was like, oh dog, what happened? And then Michael Penix came in, and then they were trying for the playoffs and da. So like he was gonna be in the background of that defense anyway, because it was all on Kirk because they had paid them all that money, but they still drafted Michael Penix. So it was all centered around the quarterback. That narrative, you weren't gonna hear about him in Atlanta. You know what I mean? But like even so, like you're saying, like I think that Mac better serves what we're looking for. They're both similar age, same size, right? But I just feel that for what we're looking for and the emergence of Coop and Bullard and Williams, you know, behind us, we need some dudes who can pressure that pocket, right? And I think that Mac is going to be that dude to just be like, hey, man, let me just mush you back here. You know what I mean? 2.7 seconds is all you got, you know, and all you can get is these underneaths.
Yeah,
you know,
that man, bro, listen, we can have the defense just having Rashawn Gary, Khalil Mack, and Kenny Clark pushing that pocket, bro. Those are three dogs right there, and that would be so scary for defenses. Like, listen, that would be too nasty. And like you said, Goody missed out on this, man. I really wanted him to come to us when that year that he went to Chicago, and I hope that we can make it happen this time around. Like you said, you know, he's tired of losing. I don't even know if this nigga has been to the playoffs in his career. It's hard to even think about if he has been, how many times, because the Chargers the Chargers were there right now, but they're trash. And okay, let me rephrase that. I don't know if this nigga has won a playoff game, because he probably touched the playoffs that one time when Derek Carr had that killer year, remember? And he got the Raiders to the playoffs, but then he like broke his neck or some shit in the last week. So then they had to limp into the playoffs with somebody else, and that they got smacked right away. And that was the first time they had been in the playoffs since Facebook existed. And that was like 2000 and like maybe 17, maybe 2018, something like that. So
yeah, I'm looking up.
So if we can get somebody who wants to win and get in that postseason and have that, if we have somebody on defense playing like Josh Jacobs was playing on offense, that I'm tired of losing, I'm so happy to be here, let me just dog out, ball out. That guy is definitely Khalil Mack for sure. And then Chase Young, he's just been a journeyman, bro. Like, I haven't seen enough. His measurables are crazy. He's always been touted as that guy, but didn't he play for the Bears? Doesn't he play for the Saints now? Didn't he play for the Redskins?
Plays for the they're the Commandos now. You know what I mean? We got to call them the Commandos.
I'm not making it legit.
I'm not going to call him that either. You know what I mean? I was like, ooh, I was like, also not going to call him that. Nope. You know, but like, it was like, yeah, no, he did play for the Commandos. You know what I mean? When they were the Washington racial slurs. So like, hey dog, Bomani Jones called it that, and that shit is the funniest thing. He was like, back when they were the Washington racial slurs, and I was like, you know what?
Oh, I like that. I think I like that.
Know what I mean? Back when they was the racial slurs, you know what I mean? Like, so I was looking at Khalil Mack's playoff career. So 2016, loss. 2018, or let me go back. So Raiders 2016.
That was his rookie year?
I want to say loss. Yeah, bad. No, it wasn't his rookie year because he was 25. So no, it couldn't have been his rookie year. He's probably like 3-4 years in. Okay. Raiders have been bad for a while. You know what I mean? Chicago in 28. All right, so they lost to Houston when he was with Oakland, probably with Deshaun.
Yeah.
Or it was 2016? No, was that Deshaun? That was 8-9 years ago. Deshaun's been in for a while.
I don't know about 8 or 9 years because Deshaun started coming out and started hitting the playoffs around the time Mahomes did. And Mahomes ain't been in activity for 8 or 9 years, has he?
No.
He's like looking 5 or 6.
Right. No, this was a Brock Osweiler game.
Oh, damn. Not Brock. That nigga garbage.
Right.
I forgot about that tall ass loser.
Right, God damn. He
That
lost to
nigga
Brock
garbage.
Osweiler. 2018, Houston lost to Philly. 2020, or I mean, not Houston lost to Philly. Chicago lost to Philly. 2020, Chicago lost to, looks like, is that New Orleans? Yikes. You know what I mean? 2022, the Chargers lost to Jacksonville. Oh, that was they were up 28 points. And, oof. Trevor Lawrence threw like 4 picks in the first half and came back and won 30 to 31-30. Yikes. And then they lost, looks like this past year
That's right.
to Houston. They got killed by Houston. But obviously not his fault because he was balling out. But either way, give me Khalil Mack. You know what I mean? Like that's the one. That's the one I want.
Khalil Pack. Drop Khalil Pack in the chat.
There is just something about it that just seems absolutely perfect.
Perfect.
Just go ahead and get him in. He can be the Reggie White.
Pull the trigger.
Right? Go ahead and bring that boy in.
We
need that. If you have those two on the edge, you got Mac and Gary, you know what I mean? And they slide that in with Kenny.
Yeah.
You got Quay and Coop. And then you got McKinney and Williams.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have Valentine.
That's a couple elite niggas at every position group. A couple elite niggas. So that's where we're at. So, okay, that's our – listen, when we conclude this segment of our episodes, I'm gonna compile our wish list of things that we need to do. And then as the offseason goes, we're going to check some boxes and see if we can get our boxes checked. And if we can't get our boxes checked, you know, I don't know how I'm going to feel. Again, I'm of the opinion of just trusting the front office. You know, I've said and voiced a lot of things. I've been mad about things in the past, but really, we be in good hands.
In the moment, right? It's in the moment frustration. You know what I mean? Like, again, we could be the New York Giants. We could be Jacksonville. We could be the Saints who are in cap hell. They got the one Super Bowl, but they are in cap hell.
I was saying, so were the Rams until recently.
We could be the Vikings, not even beat it. You know what I mean? Like, even Chicago won one, but we could be Detroit. Dog, there's something for the last 30 years about us perpetually being there, maybe 1 or 2 seasons. Damn, we didn't make it this year.
Right.
But it's usually because somebody got hurt, you know what I mean? Or something that's just kind of out of, or somebody's just balling the fuck out.
Right.
Some
freak accident. Some freak incident.
We go into the dance. That's the main thing is we are going to go and now that they expanded the playoffs, that's just another chance to get to the dance. Right. But, and the last 2 seasons, honestly, we needed it. You know what I mean? Like, because we would have 7th seed both of them. You know, we would have missed. So that kind of helps you with Jordan Love. He's a playoff quarterback. You know what I mean? But
and it helps you get that experience because there's nothing like playoff football. It's a whole different.
There's nothing like it. You got a playoff win. You got 2 playoff losses. You know what I mean? Like dog, it's experience. Right. And I'm not here, you know, to hang it all on the defense or all on the pass rush. We have 45 sacks. But we had like 8 or 9 against the Saints. You know what I mean? Like, we was feasting on the bad ones. But when it came to like real offensive lines and people who was trying to buck you in the chin, 5 sacks across 4 games against division rivals is not going to do it.
Especially against the Bears. Like, they had a awful offensive line. And I don't know how he couldn't get home against those niggas. And, I mean, really, the Vikings didn't have the greatest offensive line either. Like, the only people I get it for Detroit. I get it. But there was a couple of teams where I'm like, oh, yeah, we finna maul this O-line. And nothing happened. And I was like, yo. So those were the free agents. Those are the realistic. And then we got our long shots. We got our shooting stars, let's do some recruiting. Josh Jacobs, I'm looking at you. Tay, if you come back, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at some things, you know what I'm saying? And we only got 2 niggas on that list. 2 guys that meet the requirements, and that's Max Crosby, the Louis Vuitton twin, Devontae Adams, and Myles Garrett, the slave of Cleveland, because they're not letting that nigga go, because he's the only good football. They're about to Joe Thomas that nigga, because he's the only good football player they've seen in the last 10 years.
That nigga been saying wade in the water his whole career. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that
bars and shackles.
He had the slightest glimmer of hope when Baker was there, and then all of a sudden they was just like, fuck Baker, and then that nigga's just been depressed. Y'all brought in a nasty man, nigga. I have
not a nasty man.
The nasty man. Y'all brought in a nasty man, nigga. I know I swung a helmet. You know what I mean? Like, but he called me the N. Right? He called me the N word. You know what I mean? Like that's about it. This other nigga. Why did you bring this freak ass nigga in here? Freaky
right? Why'd you bring this fan? You a freaky ass nigga. You a 69 God. What are you doing?
Hey! Run for your life. You know, it'd be like just no, nigga. Like, and so you brought him in. I'm going to the Hall of Fame off of 7 years of on bad teams. Nigga, I have over 100 sacks in 7 fucking seasons, and y'all are wasting my life. But it's just wasting it. 100 sacks. Him and TJ Watt are the most unbelievable pass rushers of this modern generation. Because
this nigga had 14 this year. 14. And you can't even name nobody else on that defense. Who the fuck else is up there? He had 14.
Dog. And it's so like not only that, like first team all pro, top rated edge rusher, Pro Bowl, you know what I mean? All that stuff. 6th in pass rush, run rate. Like just he is an animal. Plays all the time, is never hurt. You know what I mean? More than like a game or two. You know, that man is an Iron Man.
Have you seen that nigga? How he's built? That nigga is just like a fucking superhero from. He's one of the bulky superheroes too. This nigga Cock Diesel. I'm like, God damn.
Dog, he looks like when Bugs Bunny used to inflate his chest with a fucking air pump. You know what I mean? Like just
right
and just pump that shit up and just like that's how he's built.
We got somebody in the chat. My man O'Neal, what's up, my guy? Thanks for popping in. I fuck with you. Thanks for coming in. Don't forget to hit that like. He said in the chat the Packers need a tight end, and I'm gonna tell you why we don't need a tight end.
We do not.
Bro, Tucker Kraft is nice. That nigga is nice. He averaged 10 yards per catch after the yak on his catch, 10 yards yak, and that's his average. And everybody on the Packers hopeful have been like, bro, feed this nigga the ball because he's a star. He's a real star.
I was so mad when we weren't featuring him in the offense more, and you know, to your point, you know what I mean, of us not needing a tight end. Do you want to go back to Jay Sternberger? You know what I mean? Like, you want to try that experiment again? Like, not saying go back to him, but do you want to try this perpetuity of just continue to draft tight ends? If you want to say we need a tight end, either turn Luke Musgrave into more of a blocker who can still receive or get a blocking tight end, right? You know what I mean? Because Tyler Davis, I think, is on his way out.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you know what I mean? Like, as far as who the number one tight end is, just no, Tucker Kraft. You know what I mean? He's going to be the number one. You know what I mean? Like, what we need not is a tight end, but a receiver that complements him and Jaden Reed, right? You know what I mean? Like, as focal points within the offense. And we had talked last week, you know, and this kind of leads into this as well, where we're talking about like our pipe dream type of defensive edge rushers, right? Where we can get Crosby or we can get Myles Garrett, right? Myles Garrett ain't gonna be left, so it's really Crosby, right? So are you willing to pay $25 million for Crosby, right? And what I'm thinking more so is like the allocation of what we're looking for. I'd rather us go get Mac and trade for DK. You know what I mean? As far as a combination of two things that I would want us to do is to try to package Dobbs. You know what I mean? I know, you know, I love Dobbs, you know, but again, like that body control and just kind of the availability and what we're looking for in this offense. And we need some more home runs and things that can open it up, and open up the run game is to have more explosive plays down the field, right? The pass opens the run opens the pass, blah, 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 right? It's all complementary. So I'd rather us go for Mac and then get someone like DK where we can have a big body vertical threat. And then you have him. You have Jaden Reed, who can not only take a jet sweep, but also can do crossing routes. And then you can do anything from a seam to a tight end screen, you know what I mean, to a drag route for Tucker Kraft. And then your number 4 receiver, you know, or your number 3 receiver, you know, because Watson's going to be out, is going to be Wicks, right? So if Wicks is your number 3, that's perfect. You know what I mean? If he's your number 2, you know what I mean? That's where we're like, too much responsibility to you. You know what I mean? Like, too much is relied upon you as the number 2. As the number 3, maybe not, right? And maybe that's more comfortable for you, right? So I think that can open everything else up, is if we get another weapon on the outside or another type of receiver, say like a DK,
Right.
And then that opens it up for Tucker. And he's so young, right? You know what I mean? We don't know what he could actually be. I don't think we should draft somebody to try to take away any snaps from him.
Right. And furthermore, before I read you what he said, Tucker Kraft, let's be clear, last year was the number 2 tight end behind Lucas Musgrave, who was the stud tight end. Tucker Kraft finished with all the snaps and all the things extra that he did this year because Lucas Musgrave was on IR for the entire year up until maybe, what, he played like the last 5 games or some shit like that. So we expect Lucas Musgrave, our other tight end that we drafted, who's also the same kind of build and almost the same kind of player as Tuck, which is a nasty, great run blocker and catch punisher. You know, we expect him to split those snaps in, or not even split them, but spell him when he needs to. Because O'Neal put Tuck finished 5th among all tight ends with 923 snaps. He played at least 40 snaps in every game with 60 plus in 5 games. Then he said he got 740 yards last year. He said we should make a trade for Kyle Pitts. And then he said last was ranked D as a tight end last year. I'm not sure what that means. And then he said DK is going to the Chargers. He said, I'd like to see the Packers with Tyreek. He wants out of Miami. And yeah, I meant to say that too. We forgot to put Tyreek Hill on that free agents list when the long shot free agent
with the
list.
trade targets.
Yeah.
The reason I didn't put Tyreek on there is because every chance that nigga gets, he's be fawning over Kansas City. You know what I mean? That nigga be like, I miss it. You know what I mean? Like, he's a nigga who broke up with his ex and misses it. You know what I mean? It was right. That's just, he was just like, things were so much better. I didn't know how good I had it. He sees these niggas going to the Super Bowls and shit, and he's like, I'm used to winning. So you went to Miami, my nigga? Niggas who ain't run playoff games in 25, 30 years? The fuck are we talking about? You went for the contract, right?
You
know what I mean?
10th least watched team of the league, Miami.
Tyreek also, you know what I mean? Even though he can be someone who can beat us over the top, I still don't think the body type is what we need in our scheme. You know what I mean? Like, we still need somebody who is 6'3", 6'4", top off. Even though he can take the top off the defense, he commands things. I still don't know if a team of 6-foot receivers is what we need. You know what I mean? Per se. Like, I think we need somebody in which we can target, who can go up and high point things versus
we can
things
play a little bit of bully ball when necessary.
Right. You can play, not only can you play bully ball, like if people can designate roles and not just specific roles, but they can do multiple things, because like I can see where DK goes to the Chargers, right? They need a weapon. Ladd McConkey was nice, you know what I mean? But they need a weapon because Johnson is not the dude, right? So like Quentin Johnson, you know what I mean? Like, he just space cadet type shit, you know what I mean? But like Tucker Kraft was number 7 in like receiving yards. And so if you have somebody who can pair with him that's also another big body, I feel that is better in our, like, what we would try to accomplish that can still draw the double teams. Because with Tyreek, you know what I mean? Like, nigga, you trying to come to the cold? Like, you in Kansas City, you know what I mean? But like, you trying to come to the frozen tundra and be with the frozen, like with a less than experienced, kind of still growing team. Right. This nigga's talking about winning, right? He's talking about somebody, or he's talking about situations where he can actually excel and win. And we want that as the Packers, right? But what he's looking for is proven success. You know what I mean? Like, and we're still building towards success in our current iteration. And so he's like, I'm used to winning. I want to win. Like, it's going to be one of those things where he gets traded somewhere after this season. He's going back to KC on some team-friendly type shit and try to rekindle some flames.
Right, try to get a last little run, last dance, pop up.
Right, exactly. So I don't think that's, beneficial to the Packers. Whereas if you trade for DK and can extend him and he's still relatively young, I feel like he could still grow with our team, and it would just, I don't know, I just feel like it would be a better fit.
Hell yeah. All right, so that was, what I'm saying, so a little segue real quick just about tight ends and shit. Thanks for hitting us with the question.
Appreciate the chat.
You only nigga fucking around in the chat. But so that brings us back to, like you said, complementary football. So if of these two people, I mean, obviously Myles Garrett is the stud here. Over Max Crosby. Max Crosby's no slouch, but of those two people, who would make more sense if we were going to go out on a limb and fuck with anybody? Who would be the person that you see Goody making that move for?
It'd be Crosby, only because it would take less to attain him. Garrett's gonna take the world. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna take all your picks. It's going to take multiple players. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of them lopsided trades that's going to take you everything because this man is a star, right? You know what I mean? Like this man is the best edge in our game with face recognition, right? Which is hard to do as a defensive line, right? You know, like so with that, I feel like it would take way more to attain him than it may to attain Max, where you may get away with not having to give up first rounders, maybe even be able to do, you know, like a third, a fourth, and a fifth, you know what I mean, type like combination things or subsequent years or things like that. It's multiple firsts to get Miles. You know what I mean? Like there's no way you're going to get him without giving up this year's and next year's and something else, right? An arm, a leg, your foot, you know, like everything that comes with it. So Max Crosby makes the most sense because they're both relatively, as far as like contract wise, like they would be similar, but like obviously Garrett would cost more because even on the back end, I don't see this man's production falling off anytime soon. This man could end up with like 200 sacks just because he's a fucking animal.
Right. Of course. Well, shit. I mean, that's pretty much, you know, sums that whole thing up. Hopefully we make some moves and we don't stand pat. O'Neal said due to genetics, he said being white. And Max got about 3 years left. Hey, listen.
I don't know.
He 3 years.
Hey, he be ripping Black and Miles like Blunt, so I don't know. He might have crossed over at some point or might have some, you know what I mean, the power of the Black Panther.
You ever seen that video where Max Crosby was saying nigga at his locker? And everybody was like, oh, this nigga was going to say nigga. And then he didn't say it, but he was like, these niggas. And then he was like, yeah, come see us or whatever. Have you ever seen that video?
Yes, dog, I saw that video, which is why it's one of those things. Like, Max Crosby is one of those ones, like, you will never fight him. You know what I mean? Even if he says the N-word, the fuck are you going to do about it? Right. You know what I mean? Like, this nigga was just like, all right. You know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those things, like, not everybody obviously should get a pass for saying that shit just because I could beat somebody's ass. But Max Crosby is, like, cool enough and can beat your ass. And it's just like... All right, nigga. Like, just,
hey, I think you dress like Devontae. You cool. You got the nigga pass. I seen it. All right. Well, shit. That kind of brings us to a conclusion for today's episode on edge rushers. Again, if y'all got anything, tap in. O'Neal, thanks for popping in and entertaining in the chat and letting us know what's up. We love to answer questions. Love to interact with y'all so we can, you know, throw on a little bit of a longer show instead of just talking about our one topic. But like I said, that wraps up the episode. Thanks for kicking it with us and sharing the passion for the green and gold. That's where we at. He said he has black men tatted on him. He got a pass.
Hey man, you know, like that. Listen, Max Crosby again. He one of them ones, right? You know, it's not every cool white person gets the pass, right? You got to be in the upper echelon. You got to be in the upper room of the upper room. Right? You know what I mean? You know, like, so it's one of those, like, he had to pass, I'm sure, many initiations before he ever reached that point. And it's not just with, like, dumb niggas who be saying that shit. You know what I mean? Like, at first, you pass the dumb niggas. You know what I mean? And then you get past the cool niggas. And then you get past the real niggas. If you get past the real niggas, nigga, I ain't got shit to say. You know, like, so, like, hey, man.
Hell yeah. Well, shit, man, if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to hit that smash. That like button, that subscribe button, and share this with any fellow Packer fans that you have. If you have any Facebook pages that you want to share it to, we always are willing to debate other Packer fans for their point of view. Any other fans of any other sport, just like, I mean, any other team, so y'all can, like my man right here, O'Neal, is my guy. He's a Chargers fan. So he's going to come in here and let us know what's up. And
so that's why he said, okay, DK to the Chargers. I thought this man was out here reading some articles and stuff, but that was the fandom bleeding through. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. You know what I mean? I ain't mad at it because, you know, I've had many fan edits. You know, back when Odell was with the Giants, I was like, Odell coming to the green and gold.
Yeah. No, I just tired of seeing it. That was the last time. I let my hope meter get so high. And after I got crushed with that, I was like, I don't believe shit that happens. Not until ink is wet on the paper. I'm not believing shit. But
dog, like until we actually signed Xavier McKinney, you know what I mean? I was like, nigga, we ain't about to sign this nigga. He's one of the best safeties in the league.
Right.
And then we got the first team All-Pro.
Turn up. Hell yeah. So again, drop a comment below with your thoughts on today's episode. If you have a hot take or if you're just showing some love for the Pack, we're reading everything, and like I said, we probably give you a shout out. We're not probably, man. We're so small right now. If you say anything, it's gonna be on the next episode. I'm just gonna keep it 1,000 with you. It's gonna be on the next episode.
You know what I mean? Like, shout out the handle, shout out the question. You know what I mean? But just make sure to remember to follow us. Again, Facebook. You can follow us at Super Bowl Packers. You can get us on Twitter. I ain't gonna call that shit X. Mama named it Twitter. I'm gonna call you Twitter. You know what I mean? And Instagram, we have at Pack Super Bowls. You know what I mean? PACK Super Bowls. You know, and so just make sure to follow us. EK Tha Gawd. That's THAGAWD out there, and make sure to follow us here. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and
yes,
keep it locked on that Super Bowl Packers.
Hell yeah. Until next time, keep the faith, keep the energy, and as always, go Pack, go. I'll see y'all in the next episode. Stay legendary.
She's that nation. We out.